Hello and welcome to Alternate Image Raid. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're going to go over Faction Wars Stage 21 for the Demonspawn faction. So here we have Duhr the Hungerer, we have Magnarr, we have Alure, we have Akoth, and we have Drexthar. Now this is the team that I prefer taking in to this Faction 21 before I got some of these newer legendary champions down here that I did not have when I originally did this. I didn't have Akoth there either. Those will make this run easier. So I'm going to show this run, discuss a little bit how it works. Then I'll go over the stats at the end of the run of the champions, so their stats, so their gear, their masteries, and then discuss a little bit of the alternates you could possibly use for this, at least based on what I have available. Let's get going in. So this team can run a little bit on auto, although there are times where I will often pull this into manual just to give it a bit higher of a success rate than when it is exclusively on auto. So some of the key functions of this team, Drexthar has a chance to taunt, and he is just a tank. Akoth just does some burn and a little bit of damage here. Obviously, Alure is busting down some major turn meter, particularly when it gets to the boss. And then Magnarr over here is big damage, particularly with his A2 ability, I believe it is. It does the double hit here. I'm not going to use this right now. I want to save this for the next wave. And then our big man here in the middle, Duhr the Hungerer, he does this heal, the reflect damage. And also, most importantly, he provides a revive, which will keep the team alive in order to get that 3-star. Because people can die on this team, often will over the course of the fights. And so we want to make sure that they make it till the very end to get to the 3-star for you and your Lydia chances. We'll see at this point when running, I'm making sure we don't use any of their abilities that are on cooldown because we need to make sure those are up for the next wave. This wave is kind of a bother. So I'm just going to speed through this a little bit, let you watch and see some of the choices I'm making here when fighting these guys. However, it does take a while and it's kind of a bother, so we're just going to zip through a little bit of this fight. Part of the strategy for these faction wars can often come down to how you play your turns. I had a friend of mine that was struggling on one of the teams, and I'm like, we have the exact same team. I don't see how you're getting it. So he actually eventually just shared his screen with me. It's like, okay, what button should I hit next? And I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I was able to take him through to get his 3-star that he had been struggling with a little bit previously. We'll see, we just got the run kind of zooming here in the background. I don't actually know that my choices here have been the best for making it go quickly. There's a couple moves I could have made that have a chance of possibly having sped up this a little bit. However, I at least made sure that we would not result in a fail and that we wouldn't have anyone die who couldn't be brought back and re-healed. Okay. So before we really jump into the boss, I'm going to kind of show the abilities. Chance to provoke, which isn't too big of a deal if it hits Allure, but it is kind of problematic for getting the abilities out on the rest of the team. Chance for a true fear on the whole team, which is really the most dangerous thing because then our active abilities will get off cooldown. And this chance to freeze whenever attacked. It's kind of a bother. So again, this boss can take kind of a couple of minutes, so we're going to quickly turn this up in the background here and let us zoom through the fight. A couple things really to note is that everyone just doing a little bit of damage, but the main two people here that are bringing the value to this fight are Alure with her turn meter deplete, and also our tank there in the middle who is providing the chance at a res. And that's basically it. The rest are just a little bit of debuffs. The burn doesn't really matter. We have a chance of stun. It doesn't hit consistently. But really having a support that's bringing some kind of a heal, keep your team alive, or res is really great. And then the turn meter control of Allure is what is keeping this so consistent for the victory. Without Allure, it definitely can be done. Again, at the end of this, we'll discuss some of the composition options. But for this specific grouping, she's just a really great champ at boss control. All right, so we'll see. That is the run here. Magnarr did most of the damage on that run, with Akoth, Allure, and Drex doing all similar amounts of support. These are all kind of supportish champions. Tank roles, obviously, turn meter control here is really key. And then Duhr for those big heals to keep this team going. Now, this can be done on auto. I ran it manual just to guarantee it 3-star for this video. If you're farming, feel free to leave this on auto, and you're going to get your completion even if you don't get your 3-star afterwards. So, of course, I'm going to go now and show you all of their stats, and then, discuss those a little bit. Okay, so let's check out the stats for these guys here. Now we have Drexthar. I put him in a lifesteal set just to give him a lot of sustain. I mostly just use him on Faction Wars, so that's where he's at. We did take him down to the Giant Slayer because of his triple hit on his A1 here. Let me show you that. So that Giant Slayer has a chance of proccing each time that happens. And for his stats here, we'll see that we have him in a ton of defense. And that's basically it. His accuracy should be a little bit higher. He's mostly just being a tank for the team with a chance to provoke. Allure is tuned for my Fire Knight team. I believe I have a video up for that one already. So her key for that is speed. Needs to be almost as high for that. For this team, it doesn't have to be that high, but the higher speed, the better. 100% crit rate is necessary for her A1 to work. And then accuracy over 250. And obviously, if you can get crit damage and attack just to make her help out even more, it is pretty nice. She is also in Giant Slayer for the same purpose of her A1, and her A1 is what she's here for. She does a total of 75% reduction in turn meter if she crits every time. Pretty massive. She also does a sleep and a little decreased defense, but that's not super important. Now, Magnarr, mostly we want this potential double hit on his A2, but his A3 still hits decently hard as well. And we are taking him in a Savage set for damage. You'll see it's not actually enchanted, so he could actually be a lot stronger than he is. He is HP based. His HP is kind of low for what he's doing, but he has okay crit rate and crit damage. And that's about it. I was starting to work on him as an arena team. That's why his resistance is a little bit high, but I didn't finish gearing him for that. And for that reason also, we have him in Helm Smasher for just pure damage. He was an arena champion I was trying to go for, but he's only kind of partially geared in that regard. Duhr here. Duhr the Hungerer is our healer. We have good HP and decent defense, and that's about it. His accuracy could be much higher. We don't have him in 16'd out gear. When I originally completed this faction, he was not even 6-starred. Level 50, 5 stars. He just needs to have decent amount of HP so he can drop this occasionally off to the team to get some heal out. And then also res just to ensure you make it to the end with full squad and that you have them all alive at the very end of the boss so that you get your 3 stars. Partial masteries and defense and support tree. Akoth is on my spider team. I also did not have him as a 6-star at the time I initially cleared this. He doesn't need to be. He's mostly just there doing some burn damage. He is very replaceable on this team. We'll see that his stats are defense, decent crit rate, and then some damage, and then definitely the accuracy. Obviously, this could all be better. He is not full 16'd out on his gear. It's not all enchanted. It's not really important, the stats here. The keys to this particular team, and no masteries, really are Allure and Duhr for this setup. Having somebody to reduce the turn meter of the boss so the boss doesn't get to keep fearing you as much is important. And then being able to res your team is also pretty strong. And you'll see somebody did die during the waves of this particular match. Okay, so let's check out the other faction champion that I have for these guys. And we'll see now that, of course, I have a bunch of pretty good champs. Sissy would be a decent option for anybody. I have her in a Giant Slayer for, again, that triple hit A3 is pretty common. She does some more HP burns. She's somebody I also used interchangeably with Akoth early on when I was going through this. She's a little bit more chance to get one shot, but I do have her in a lifesteal set for that reason, for some survivability. Good damage here. Obviously, if you have a Kymar, I'm going to throw him on basically every team you have in the game. He's really solid. Not necessary, of course, for this. That's why I didn't run him on there. And then if you participated in the Helicath fusion, Helicath is going to make your team way more consistent and stable. Actually, these demons just have great champions. Diabolus is still going to be solid if you need a increased speed. Pretty nice. Anaphil's turn meter. She's going to help your champs rotate through their abilities much faster. She's a really solid champion. Would not be a bad person to put in this, particularly if you didn't have Allure. Having somebody increase your turns is going to be pretty important. And then Achak here has some great CC and burn abilities, as well as some protection for your team. I was running this guy for a long time until I got Duhr, and then I used Duhr instead as my primary support champion. His kit just seemed a little bit stronger. But you could probably mix and match almost any of these champions and have pretty good odds. If you're not going with Allure for the boss, you're going to need a lot of extra support. You're going to need more heals or cleanses or something like that. So having an Achak with his block debuffs could be really nice. And then, of course, any of your DPS champions are going to be pretty solid for this. Mine are not there with any specific purpose. Just get somebody who slaps, and you will be able to make it through. And that pretty much sums up. There's a lot of really good champions here. Obviously, again, Allure, Achak, or Duhr, getting some kind of a res. That's really nice. But especially with Helicath, they're just options. This has been a raid or alternate image raid video. If you like. If you dislike, feel free to smash that dislike button, as it's still engagements for the channel. And as always, have a great day.